some of us are very emotional. But me, I mean, raised in a military family, it's like, what's wrong? Let's fix it. Now it's done. I don't want to talk about it no more. That's how I was raised. Amen. Once we talk about it, I don't care how mad I get or how upset I get or how many words, 4 letters. Once we get it out and we exchange and we come to a truce, I'm done with it. We're not going to talk about it every day, next day, tomorrow. Remember the other day? No, we're not doing that. So, but he did. So I didn't understand that. Like, it was over and over and over again. So that was one of his triggers. He would his thoughts were hyper, like all the time. It could be anything. And I would be like, okay, well, let's go talk. I'm talking to him. I mean, he was all the way in, like, very upset about it. Then I said, oh my goodness, everybody, even his mother. Like, something his mother did. And he was very angry about it. But not angry like tearing up furniture. It was angry like a rant of his thoughts. Going. I said, oh my God, I was just like watching him, like a clock, sitting around. I said, it's going to come back around. It's going to ring. I said that, because I mean, that's just on my logical thinking. It's like, keep doing this with everybody else, it's going to come back around to me. And when it did, it was an ugly thing. Not this way.
I do want to say something on that you mentioned. Is you didn't see those things because there was a different relationship, right? Because there's still guilt and shame. Like mental health issues and concerns in a lot of cultures, especially in our culture, there's a lot of stigma and guilt and shame. So I don't want to seem like something's wrong or that stigma that you put on it. So then I learn my coping skills, and it may not be healthy, but I tuck it away. And then when you observed him, what you saw was this black and white guy, black outfit, no emotion. But that's where the telltale signs of avoidance and triggers. So it may look like internally I'm avoiding emotions. I shut down, I'm just very flat out there. It may look like I'm disconnected in our relationship. You want to talk to me and you're saying, did you hear me? And I'm shut down. I'm disconnected. I might be having trauma triggers by that. And so then the other side was the ranting, right? The emotional outburst, the purge, because I'm in a safe space. See, at home, even though you're there, you're hearing me talk about Mama, John, Karen, Bob. I'm in a safe space. Don't feel safe to the people in the place with the person with PTSD, but they're in a safe space, so they feel safe enough to vent and avoid and purge all of those emotions. But that's critical to knowing that how it manifests. And in different little things in your relationship. We've all been in, probably some of y'all probably think back at some of our relationships and maybe think the person might have been having a PTSD trip.
Yeah. I just also want to add one more thing. I don't know if you got this clip, but I want to add one more thing to feedback off that.
No, I just wanted to know, and I don't know if you're going to go and talk about it, but I wanted to know, like, when you discovered what was going on, how did you approach him? Or even before that, how did you approach him about this?
I was very direct because I mean we talked about it in the other podcast. I was very direct, like but not direct like harsh.
Okay.
I was very direct, like because he was a truck driver, so we was on the phone a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, so he stayed isolated. He loved being isolated, and I didn't see that. I didn't see that as a trigger, or I didn't see that as a red flag. I didn't see that. I just thought, okay, he's gonna work with people. He's gonna play well with others. I don't like to play. So I was playing well with others. Right. I just thought that was, so I'm just very like green. Just very green. Right. He wanted to be by himself. And so my approach was, hey, his favorite thing was to go out for a cigar and have a drink. God bless you. Okay. And so I'm like, hey, come on, let's go out for a drink. Let's go hang out. I don't want to hang out. Let's stay home. So, got your favorite cigar. Not that I'm I did that on a regular basis. That was a routine. Like, when you would come off the road, that was always there. And so, I'm like, okay, come on, let's go out and hang out and smoke. Let's smoke. So, once he's smoking, and he had a one sip, not too many drinks, but that was the first couple of sips. And that was my time. Okay. His guard was down. He's not yelling. He's not ranting. And I would be like, hey, I'm starting going to go to therapy, because we had a wedding day. We had a wedding day. So I said, I want to go do
between our counsel, but before we do that, we have to get ready, we'll make sure we're ready.
I'm gonna go to counseling, and you can do counseling, so I know you go to VA, it's free. You know, so I was, you know, doing all this, he said, okay, cool, no problem. So his guard was down, he was in agreement, not a problem. So it was like, I'm gonna do it, so I know you're gonna do it, I encourage you to do it too. I wasn't telling him, but I was telling him. I was direct, I wasn't like, do you think maybe kind of, so no. I'm going to therapy, I think you should go to. But I said it in a way, in an environment where I knew his guard was gonna be down once he started smoking his cigar. But on the first drink though, because by the second or third.
Another trigger starts.
Another trigger starts. Another trigger starts.
If I can say one thing that stood out for me, obviously we're talking about PTSD, but I think this happens in relationships even outside of PTSD. But when y'all first decided we're going to start make this something other than a friendship, and he says up front, I'm telling you up front,
Right.
not PTSD. And I say that because as humans, sometimes we do that. We're like, I told you I got that. And so now we expect that person just to deal with it. So we think that our acknowledging it is enough. Not going to fix it, but you can't be mad at me for this because I told you I got
Right, that's exactly
so
what
I'm just saying, that's what stood out to
That's
me.
exactly what he said. all
That's
the
what
time.
stood out to me in that clip, when he just says,
Right.
I'm going to tell you up front, I got it.
Right, and one more thing too, I
Go
want to
ahead,
add on
go
to
ahead.
what the sister, we knew him all the time, how come we didn't know? Another red flag that I see in hindsight was the love bombing. And for those who don't know what love bombing is, I think every woman can honestly say they've experienced this on one level or another. If somebody, can you elaborate on love bombing? Because that's exactly what it was. I didn't know what it was, but that's exactly what, in hindsight.
Yeah.
I was like, I got some new words in my vocabulary.
So before and after, so love bombing feels great before, right? Love bombing. It feels so good because you're giving me attention like nobody gave me attention before. You're talking to me, you're very attentive and you're very acute to what I'm doing. And then here comes these situations where experiences happen, you have a trigger episode, your PTSD manifests, and then it gets ugly. And then afterwards, the guilt, the shame, the frustration comes in. Then I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna love on you so good. You want this ring? You want this? Come on, let me go take you over here. We're going here, we're going here. You done had a $1,500 weekend. And then plus promises of that. And then I'm acting real good. I'm acting real great. I'm doing what you want. You want me to wash the car? You want me to go do this? I'm cooking for you. Yes, I got all of that. Because I'm love bombing you. Because I need you. Because I'm scared. Because I can't manage my emotions. And yes, I have to take active participation, but it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Why? Because our brains, 95% of the time, we're subconscious. We're working on our subconscious brain. Our active conscious brain only is on 5% of the time. And the brain, as fat and heavy as it is, it's lazy, it don't want to spend no much energy, so it's going to conserve. So memory kicks in. Because the mind loves the familiar. It wants to remember that way so I can just hit the shortcut instead of doing all the steps to it. So when it comes into our relationships, these triggers, they're still there, and then they manifest in our relationships.
Somebody wants to say? No, that's beautiful. Let's go to another cut here.
I'm going to say, based on my experience with someone who has had serious combat trauma, it was very important for the person to understand that they do have baggage.
Right.
First, let's understand that. You do have baggage, you do have some serious issues. Now, don't bring your baggage over here. It's already here.
Right.
Because you're here, your baggage is here. Now, for me to say, separate yourself from the baggage to a partner,
Right.
is my way of saying, okay, acknowledge it, okay, and let's deal with it.
Right.
Because one of my family members, the way he's managing his, he was in the Navy and in the Army, okay? He has a service animal. He goes to therapy every week, whether it be a phone call or face-to-face sessions.
Right.
And he takes medication. And the number one complaint from my ex about the medication, because it does work. There's so many different tiers of it. There's so many different levels of it. It does work. They start you off low base and then it goes up from there.
Right.
And plus they treat the actual symptoms, and we're going to get into that in a second. The difference is that person was in complete denial.
Right.
Okay, my ex was in complete denial. One, he was saying, I don't have no baggage. Okay.
The shots of potential.
He kept on saying, I don't have no baggage. Ain't nothing wrong with me. It's all on you. You know, you got to get your shit together. And you need to cater to me because I told you in the beginning what I had. I told you in the beginning what I had, but I'm like, okay, at the same time.
Is one of the ones that may be beneficial the most with complementary other modalities of treatment. But there is body work that can be done. There is EMDR, that's eye movement, rapid desensitization. It's just a way to connect and disassociate and disconnect those experiences. And then, like I said, talk therapy, EMDR, body movement, or energy work. So let me talk about those, right? Because trauma, anything that happens to our bodies, stress manifests in the body. Your body keeps score. Your body keeps score. Remember I said that most of the time we're subconscious, on automatic brain. Your body keeps score. That's why in this argument we're having today about who left the dishes in the sink, it rolls over into that time you had that receipt with those 2 entrees on it and I didn't go. Because I'm getting heated like I got heated that day of the argument. And so that level of intensity in my body, so oh, this is familiar. Oh, I've been here before. Let's pull everything that gets us frustrated and heated like that. The body keeps score. The body keeps score. So in some treatment, we have to, this is my favorite phrase, what wires together, fires together. So when I have this experience happen in my brain, my thoughts are on that experience and my emotions are connected, so they fire together. And so when I'm trying to reduce the trauma experience, I have to disconnect and separate my emotions from the event. And so that's where body work comes in. IRAP is EMDR. What that does is, as you tell me that traumatic event about what happened, as you're doing it, I'm going to just be doing these things and having your eyes look at me. As you tell me, just trying to stay focused. Why? Because what I want you to do is be able to tell the story, but be a little bit distracted, that you can't get so emotionally involved in it like you did the last time.
Wow.
And by doing that, we are breaking it apart. We are beginning to separate it. It may not eliminate everything. You may still have nightmares and flashbacks and intruding thoughts. That does not mean that you're not healing, you're not well. It's part of the healing process. And even after, like I said, you may not eliminate those things totally, but when they come, you already have the tools in place. Okay, yeah, this reminds me of when I got carjacked. Okay, but I'm not in that space anymore. I'm safe. Okay, so then when I can tell myself that, I can pull myself out of the emotional state into the thinking brain, and then I can make a decision. Because your feeling brain and your thinking brain cannot work at the same time. They cannot. They cannot.
Let's dig on that. Oh, did you have something? Go, please jump. Go ahead, Quinn.
So I listened to the Therapy for Black Girls podcast, and they talked about EMDR, and it was just a really fascinating episode because what the therapist said is that we often ask people what's wrong with you instead of what happened to you to really get clarity into what's going on, what has brought them to this position that they're in. So that definitely resonated with me.
Yeah. Powerful play on words. sometimes we have to remember that our choice of words may limit our level of communication. And so, yes.
I wanted to say something about this fat, lazy brain that's left over from subconscious to memory. I mean, memory, but you were saying that your thinking brain can't come at the same time as your feeling brain.
Right.
Which one go first?
Well, okay. I'm glad you asked. I am glad you have. So in life, a situation happens. And when that situation happens, we have to process it. So we're thinking about it. And based on what we think, we begin to get a feeling about it. And then we should recheck that feeling to think, is that feeling matching up with what happened? But it should be that we're analyzing our emotions, right? We're gonna have our emotions, but the thinking brain happens usually first because you're in the moment of something and you're processing it. But there are times and situations where you came in after the situation and all you see is the emotion, so then you jump in on the feeling part of it. And based on all of these emotions, you're trying to think, what's going on? What happened? But then I gotta go back and check and balance between my thoughts and my feelings. I have to assess the situation to make sure that my response is okay. Is it appropriate right here? And so that thinking brain cannot work when your feeling brain is on. And it's about the, I'm sorry, 1 second. It's just about our sympathetic system and our parasympathetic system. So like part of our brain and our adrenaline that uses for our brain to think, it's getting flooded. And once those emotions hit a certain brink, it caps over. So if you think of your hand, your thumb is your amygdala. That's where all your emotions are. It's about the size of a walnut, and it works with some other little parts of our brain, but it's this big. And then if you think of it, this is your brain stem. My wrist down is your brain stem. This is your amygdala. The rest of this is your brain, right? So they call this the animal brain way back when we were in the Stone Age. And as we continue to develop, we got our thinking brain. And that's a lot of old school people in here. So you remember when they would say, flip your wig. Because I am so here all the time. I'm being so emotionally triggered all the time. I'm half cocked already. I'm already. So then my thinking brain is off. I cannot think because my emotional brain is on.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes.
I know, right? That part. No doubt, no doubt. Did you have something?
So, do you have any resources or exercises you can recommend for us to be able to identify our triggers, to be able to identify our coping mechanisms so that we're bringing awareness to that so that we can be improving that or even having that discussion with people in our lives and those relationships to make sure that we're moving in the right direction? I know therapy is like obviously one of the great resources that we could apply, but outside of that, are there other things that we can be doing to identify?
Yes. Yeah, so break me off some of that in chunks because I want to get every piece of it. So yes, there are things. There's some pre-therapy things because I love therapy. I love it. I want to promote it. You don't even have to go to me. Just go to somebody. Go to somebody. It's good. But there is some precursors to therapy because some of us aren't going to do that. But there are some things. And so the first thing is, to thine own self be true. You know you. You know what irritates you. You know what pisses you off, makes you sad, makes you mad, makes you scared. So you got to be honest with yourself and identify those things first. Because I got to figure out what is my trigger. So I got to be real with myself of when am I feeling this way? And how did I get mad so fast? I was okay. But then time you said that, I went from 0 to 100. So identifying my triggers, and then being honest with myself, identifying my emotions. What is that feeling? did I get mad when they did that, or was I scared when they did that? Which came first? And what's the conflicting emotions, the juxtaposed emotions in those things? So once I begin to identify those triggers, I can then be able to share with you. I know that when you start yelling at me, it gets me. And I want to have this conversation with you, but we can't do it when you're yelling at me. We can't.
You're literally speaking for me. I
You glad you came tonight, huh? You glad you came tonight.
I will literally just leave and not care about anything else, what we're discussing, and you can be gone as well.
And then you guys are my eyes. Our eyes point outward. How dare we think we don't need anybody else? We got blind spots. Everybody has blind spots. So you are in the space between blind spots and blinders all the time. All the time. So when it comes to, I need you to tell me what you see. You know what? Every time I say clean up, you get a little irritated. What is it about cleaning up? Well, when we go back to it, because cleaning up on Saturday morning was a beast in my household, or this always happened when we had to clean up. I'm not talking about me, mommy. No,
Don't get a whooping right. I still whoop.
But you wonder why it's showing up in this marriage, and me and my spouse getting in an argument every time it's on to clean up. But my eyes point outward. So it might be me saying to my husband, babe, do you realize that every time we have this topic, this gonna come up? Do you know that, do you notice that you do this? Because sometimes the blinders are on. And sometimes I just don't see my blind spots because my eyes point outward. And you can say, look at you. I don't know unless I'm in the mirror, I need you to tell me. I need you. So one of the best things to deal with PTSD, like I said, yes, with treatment, there is success. It's on an individual basis. There's a lot of treatment. I'm really loving hypnotherapy, and I know that might scare a little people, but it just gets to the subconscious. And once I found out that it gets to the roots and it shortens the length of therapy, oh, shoot, that's the best way, because, you know, we like it fast.
Where do we sign up?
I
Love insurance.
Definitely. And so when I need you as my loved ones, as my friends, as the people who love me, to say, hey, this is going on. But I gotta be mindful too, right? If I'm flared up, this is not the time to talk to me. You're not gonna get anything good. So it's the timing. It's the timing of that. What we can do is we can support, we can love, and we can encourage, and we can foster reconciliation instead of, you did this, because mental health issues, anybody who's ever had or going through or living with a mental health issue, they don't want it. They don't want it. And so for you to think that, you know, they're using it as pride, or they're using it sometimes as an excuse, they don't necessarily want that. They don't. They want help. They want understanding. And because of what PTSD does, it breaks down relationships. So then trust is icky. Okay? So I need to have a core of support. That doesn't mean tell me what I want to hear, and that can be hard. It does not mean tell me what I want to hear. It means tell me what I need to hear. It means that you're not judging me because of my mental health concerns. That you appreciate me, but you hold me accountable for them. And the best thing is, like, what I love is I work with a range of clients, and so when I'm dealing with a child who has ADHD, and yes, they're impulsive, and yes, they're busy and active and energetic and all of that, but that has nothing to do with you getting them clothes up off that floor. It doesn't. So I want to honor you where I know that, okay, this is where we're going to use those strategies, but get them clothes up off the floor. I'm not going to sympathize with you. I need you to do the work also. But it really does make for a loving environment, helps foster success in those relationships. And also, if you're in an intimate relationship with someone who has PTSD, or if you're a family member supporting someone who has any health issues, any mental health issues or PTSD, you want to encourage family therapy or relationship therapy, but definitely individual therapy. And if it's a couple like you just said, I'm getting some, you get some, then we come together and we get something. But we need to have it, yes.
You were able to lead that man.
Yeah.
Because he wouldn't take responsibility. I can't leave my father.
Oh, yeah.
So like, what?
Do y'all live together?
No, thank God. But I'm just saying, you know, I want to have a deeper relationship with him.
Yeah.
So like, what can I do? Because what you just said, suggesting that, no. But I'm not quite sure what I can do. You know what I mean?
Okay, so everybody got a weak spot. Everybody got a little soft spot. We're just looking for the space.
Yeah.
Just looking for the opportunity. It may mean I need to change my approach. And like, men, you're saying it's your father, so I'm thinking of the generation, very honorary, very stoic, and
Right.
you can't tell me anything. I know it all. And if I don't know it, you're not going to tell me.
Yeah.
And so you come in on the love side. I love you so much. I don't know if you see it, but I see this is kind of creating this way, and it hurts me so much. I need to. Do you like it? Do you like the way we are? What can I do? Right? Well, you can just shut up talking to me about whatever they say. That you don't really want that. And you can massage that spot to look it all comfortable and mushy. And then you just get whatever inch you can take. Now the key is to hold ground. Because then you leave the next day, you coming back, you're all the way back at ground one with that. And you just call out, I've been past this door, Dad. We're going right back here where we left off.
Yeah.
Going right back here where we left off. But it's because you don't get me. You saying you do. What's second grade? 8 years old. My 8-year-old client told me yesterday, you can't help me. Can't nobody help me. I don't want to hear that. But to some degree, when it comes to who's got to do the work, it is him. It is him. You know, so what I told him is like, because he said, you're not my family. You can't help me. You're just a therapist. You're right. I'm just a therapist. But I do come with maybe some different ideas or tools that can help you. You're right. I can't help you do it if you don't want me to. But maybe I can give you some suggestions on how you can do it. Maybe I can help you help yourself a little bit better. And, you know, he was okay with that. He was like, well, give me something. And then so I gave him something. But it is a reality. That is a reality. And it hurts, right, to want to help somebody and they don't want our help. That hurts the most. So what do we do with that? What do we do with that? We have to accept That is not gonna change how I feel about you. I'm still gonna love on you. You don't want my kisses on you, okay, I'll just blow them in the air towards you. I'm still going to love on you. Your rejection is part of your safety and security. So you just rejected me, but I see through that. Okay, you want me to stand back here? When you're ready, I'm on your time. And you have to surrender to want to be on somebody's time. You gotta want to relate, to have a relationship. And there is no relationship if you cannot relate.
I love the thing you just talked about, just when you say the concept of, you know, how they may push you away, you know, if you're going through something like that, whatever. And so, I mean, just to expand on that moment, if you're listening to, I mean, obviously y'all were listening to what Vivian was saying, but to think about the experience with someone that you care about, who maybe is cantankerous or whatever. And so it's frustrating when they're cantankerous with you because you're wanting to build a relationship. So they make you feel like they don't want to build a relationship with you. Why would they keep doing this? But if you're listening to what she's saying, if they're doing it because it's their safe space, and now you can click to understanding why they're doing it, now it doesn't have to upset you the way that it used to upset you before knowing what you just learned tonight. Because naturally, you're going to love, they're cantankerous, and it makes you mad that they're cantankerous when you're trying to love them. That is a natural response for you. However, if you take what she just taught you to say, oh, they're doing it because they're afraid of dealing with whatever I'm trying to make them deal with, you allow them to do it in a way that it doesn't bother you. They're still going to do it, but if you're listening to what she's saying, now that you're less bothered, the breakthrough can only happen now that you take this approach, because I always say, whoever has the information, that's who the responsibility is on. But prior to knowing what she just taught you, it was natural for him to get cantankerous and for you to get mad at him or she being cantankerous. Neither one knew better. So you're just like, I get frustrated, I ain't even gonna try again. So that's natural. But as she's saying, I'm gonna still love on you, because now you have the understanding of why they're being cantankerous. They still don't. So they're not responsible for what they don't know. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to point out like what that means. Now you gotta allow somebody that you love to maybe act the way that you used to make you mad. Don't get as mad. Because now you know they're not directing it at you. They're trying to say whatever the head reason that makes them protect themselves and don't want to share. It's obvious to the family sometimes that this person needs to get therapy. So I just wanted to really highlight what you just learned in this moment. So you don't let it upset you. That's the only approach. And it doesn't mean they can disrespect you and they're able to disrespect you. I mean, it's not that. But to understand it makes you feel less disrespected sometimes. Because you're like, okay, I'm going into it knowing that's part of it. And I'm going to love on them anyway, like she's saying. But if you don't ever think about it, you'll just still get mad because of how they act. So I just wanted to kind of just really develop that thought.
Absolutely. You want to see how the puzzle pieces fit. Right? We look at puzzles, we take each piece, we see how it fits. Let's just see, why is it working out this way? And then, did I answer all of the question with the